Hi, I'm Georgia.
And I'm Renee, and welcome to Zen and Tech. Hey Georgia, how are you doing?
I'm good, Renee. How are you doing?
I forgot to tell people that this is the show where we help them center their inner geek and get more out of their connected lives.
That's okay. Don't panic. We'll figure it out.
I'm panicking. My heart is palpitating a little bit. I'm starting to get a little bit tunnel vision. The world is going dark, and I'm all alone.
Well, it's good because that's exactly the show that we're talking about, is what to do if you suffer from panic attacks.
All right, so I think they've entered the popular culture because of things like The Sopranos and I forget the name of that Billy Crystal movie that was out at the same time as Sopranos, but whatever that is. What exactly is a panic attack, and how is it different from just feeling stressed about something?
A panic attack is hugely different from just feeling stressed about something. If a panic attack, you truly feel that you are dying. So what happens during a panic attack is your body is getting ready for fight or flight, but you really truly do feel like you're going to die. An anxiety attack, you have that same fight or flight feeling, but you know you're having an anxiety attack, and that makes the difference. So your body's getting ready to fight off a tiger, but there is no tiger.
All right, so what do you mean by is it like a heart attack? Do you feel like you can't breathe? I mean, what makes you think you're going to die?
Well, what happens is that for some reason your body has been triggered to set off your body's internal alarm system. So it says there is great danger for whatever reason, you might not even know why. And so then your body sets off its fight or flight mechanism. The limbic system takes over, starts off the sympathetic nervous system, which sets off a huge cascade effect of your body's changes so that you will be better apt to protect yourself, run away from danger, and or fight it.
So that's why we have these systems to begin with, right? It's because once upon a time we hunted mammoths and saber-toothed tigers with spears, and it behooved us to be able to react to things that threatened our lives.
Yes, yes. It's more for things that attack us, but it could be almost anything, even other tribes. So we end up with this response of make sure that we get out of danger, and that's why you get that huge fear feeling and that want to avoidance and the imminent doom, that there is something really bad about to happen but you don't know what it is, so that your body wants to get out of the way.
So why are there false positives? Why do we have panic attacks now? Is it why didn't evolution sort them away? Is it a relic, a holdover, a vestigial reaction to something?
Well, they're still very, very useful. I think that panic attacks get a bad rap. If a car is coming at you and you jump out of the way of the car, you're really lucky to have that sympathetic nervous system that's going to get you out of the way before you think about it. The same thing if there's suddenly a fire alarm or a burglar comes into your house. You want to have the ability to go into fight or flight without having to think about it. And a lot of things are beneficial about a panic attack as well. So it is not a vestigial.
Vestigial.
Thank you. It's not a remnant from the past. It is there for a reason. It's just when it's set off and we don't understand what that reason is, it can be really scary.
So, I mean, I'm incredibly ignorant about this. So all I know is what television has told me. And I realize that's probably not a source for the truth, but I think it is a source for common perceptions or misperceptions. And the way we see it, like the way you're describing it, is almost like superheroic. Like our body becomes ultra charged and we can fight the stuff away or get away from stuff. But often on television, someone has a panic attack while they're driving and they crash their car, or it's mistaken for a heart attack, or they fall down. I mean, it's shown to be debilitating.
So let's talk about the different things of panic attacks and what happens in your body first off, because I think that's going to explain a lot of the reasons why you experience both things. Because
okay, debunk me.
Both are true. Both are true. What's happening is that a little part of your brain called the amygdala is saying, I sense a little danger, I don't think anything's really okay. And it goes through the whole set of the limbic system, the hypothalamus, and it just goes through everything, goes to the prefrontal cortex and says, listen, let's do a body scan. Is everything okay? Then what happens is we get this surge of adrenaline. Our heartbeat starts going, we start sweating, everything seems to slow down. We get this outer body kind of feeling, which is fine if you know why you're getting that. So you do get kind of superpowers. A panic attack is like having superpowers. You are stronger than you could ever be because your body releases all of the reserve of glucose to get it really, really, really revved up. So you are stronger than you were beforehand. You're also able to see, our frame rate that we can see is about 30 frames per second, which is why movies are at 28 frames per second. But during a panic attack, we are processing vision faster, which makes it seem like time slows down.
Okay,
A little
so
bit of a Matrix effect.
you and I both did martial arts for many years. We did tournaments, grappling and sparring. And what you're describing to me is that sort of adrenaline rush you get when you go into those sorts of controlled combat sports.
Right. Right, because you know why you're in there. I think that I was very anxious when I would go into a fight, way past the calm, collected, I understand what kind of anxiety I have. I would say it was an anxiety attack for sure that I would have before that I would fight. But what would happen if you had that exact same reaction? Your heart starts beating faster, you start sweating, you have this strange feeling of outer body. Everything maybe slows down or speeds up. It seems like there's a distance between time and where you are, but you don't know why this is all happening. That's the real scary part of a panic attack, is when you don't expect it. If a car comes at you, you know why you're revved up. If a tiger suddenly jumps out of the bushes at you, you must live somewhere where there's tigers, you would know why it was, and you would be happy that you had that reaction time.
So I think it's the name that's screwing me up, because when you say panic attack, I imagine that sort of debilitating fear that you see on TV that causes accidents or faints or stuff like that. But it sounds like it's the same thing as the adrenaline rush that you were also describing. It's just when the context is clear, it's focused, and when the context isn't clear, that's when you get the fear, and the fear is what makes it a panic attack instead of just an adrenaline response, whatever the word is for the thing that's not panicky.
Yes, once you know what you're having, it's no longer a panic attack. Because the reason that you have a panic attack is because you are afraid that you don't know why. There is no precursor to this, and that's what makes the difference. So what you think is that you must, like, if your heart's beating really fast, you feel pain in your chest, maybe your throat's closing up. I apologize if you have these, because talking about the triggers sometimes causes the triggers. You want to avoid or escape, you don't feel like it's safe. If you don't see a threat that you recognize as a threat, then it's a panic attack, because that's very scary, and you're going to have a whole bunch of fears of maybe I'm losing control, perhaps I'm going crazy, maybe I'm having a heart attack, perhaps I'm going to die, maybe I'm going to stop breathing. Those are really, really scary, and I've had a panic attack. It was intensely scary. And the funniest part of it is that I said, well, I wasn't an anxiety specialist at the time when I had it, but I said I'm a therapist. I would know if I was having a panic attack, so then I mustn't be having a panic attack. I must be dying. And I was just having a panic attack.
So before we move on, is this also similar to the sort of panic that people get when they're, because you mentioned talking about it could actually make people feel bad, but is it related at all to post-traumatic stress, or to people whose panic is based on previous events or previous trauma?
Definitely. Physiologically, a panic attack, whether it's caused by a tiger jumping out at you or if it is just a trigger to an event, it is exactly the same. Physiologically, our body knows no difference.
So again, because television is how I understand all these things, whether you're Josh from the West Wing hearing Yo-Yo Ma play and remembering being shot, or you're Tony Stark remembering the attack on New York and doesn't want to think about it, but some kid won't leave him alone. All of that sort of triggers these responses, and when you don't know how to deal with them, that's when the problem ensues.
Exactly, because they're very scary, and anxiety is all about a loss of control. Because they happen, and you don't know why they're happening, and your body just takes over, it's very, very frightening.
Now, does everybody have these? Can everybody have these? Are these restricted to a certain part of peopledom?
There's a very small percentage of people that have ever experienced a panic attack. About 2 to 4% of people have ever experienced a panic attack. Some people, everyone that their brain is functioning adequately is able to have a panic attack. But it doesn't mean that they would have a panic attack. A panic attack is when you don't know what it is. It's theoretically, 98% of the population. If you have some sort of damage and if you have lost the fear response, if you have no fear response, if a car was coming at you and you would still stand there and do nothing or just walk away and you felt nothing, your heart didn't race, your heart didn't beat, then you would not be able to have ever be possible to experience a panic attack. If you have a natural fear response, which we should have, like there's a reason why almost the entire population has this, because everyone else was wiped out. If you saw a tiger and said, here kitty, this is going to be okay, it did not end well for you. But thank you for sacrificing yourself for my ancestors.
All right, so now that we know what they are, how do you start to deal with them? Is it possible to know when you're having one? Are there steps you can take to sort of avoid or minimize it?
Well, I'll go through the steps that I go in therapy when we're dealing with it. First is that you need to recognize that it's a panic attack and not something else that is happening. They're exceptionally common, and there's a myriad of different physiological feelings that you'll have. Difficulty in focusing, feeling a feeling of like things are out of your control. So once you or a doctor might have already said, listen, this is what you're suffering from. Often people have already gone to the emergency room thinking that they had a heart attack and or were dying, and then they were told that this is only a panic attack, which is a relief, but also then you feel like, I wish it was something more serious, because here I am waiting, well, if in Quebec it's like 16 hours before you saw a doctor for to be checked up, and then you're sent home, being told to go see a therapist or get this treated in some other method. After you deal with that, when you know that it's a panic attack, after that, that's when we decide what can we do about it.
Now, is there a secondary trauma from panic attacks? Because I think I've heard about that before. Like once you have them, you can get anxiety just from the fear of maybe having one again in a bad situation or an embarrassing situation or a dangerous situation.
It's the driving factor of a panic attack is the fear of having another panic attack, because that was worse than the fear that you had in the first place that caused the trigger. So often people will have something that is the fear is actually of having another panic attack, and so you're going to want to avoid the situations where you were that you had that. And you can think of how that would be for us as a species. It was very helpful. If something bad happened in a certain area, say a swamp, and you were bitten by a caiman, you would probably not want to go back into that swampy area again so that you don't get bitten again. So it's helpful to us through our, just evolution. But in our present day, we're very, very safe in our society, so it's not as helpful anymore, and it might be to something that is relatively benign, like doing a presentation or having to go into a large open area, where it's no longer a help to us as a species. So that's when it's difficulty.
So is it your first panic attack, is there anything you can do, or do you just have to survive it?
You can do a lot of things. The first thing that I like to do is that we go through the basics. So this is probably going to be the basics of the first set of Zen and Text that we did. You're going to want to monitor how are you sleeping, how are you eating, and if you're exercising.
Well, so that's avoid, but I mean, when you're actually having the panic attack, you're not worried about that stuff, right?
No, when the first time you've had a panic attack, this is going to be the preventative measures that we'll deal with first. And then after you can deal with, well, I've done all of those things, but now I'm having a panic attack.
All right, so that was just my first question, was the first time you have one, you're not prepared, right? That's just a survival thing at that point?
No, and hopefully there's someone around that understands and is there. What you would want to do if you ever have a panic attack, and we'll do that, we'll do it backwards then, is you want to slowly start deep breathing. Know that your body will run out of adrenaline in about 15 minutes, so that's about as long as it's going to last. We do not have a set of forever resources in our brain. They are going to run out just like everything else. So it's going to last about 15 minutes, give or take. I know some people that have it for 20 to 30 minutes. That's exceptionally rare. You do sometimes go for some precursors of aftershocks, but it is pretty much about 15 minutes. You can do your deep breathing, go somewhere you feel safe, and then distract yourself. Think about something else. If you have someone that's having a panic attack, talk to them. Ask them questions that are intriguing or interesting to them, so that they get their mind off of that feeling of fear and impending doom.
All right, so you said previously that you actually think you're dying. Is there any way you can figure out that it's a panic attack as opposed to something really life-threatening?
It's a difficult thing if you've never felt it before. I'm lucky or unlucky that I already have, and I was relatively unprepared. I didn't feel many of the main symptoms that you would get from a panic attack, so I don't know even if I had all of the education and specialization that I have now, if I would have recognized that it was a panic attack at the time. So it's a very difficult thing to deal with. I just felt my body floating away from myself. It was very strange, and I did have a little bit of a rapid heartbeat, but not much, and I didn't go through the sweating, I didn't go through the hyperventilation. It was just really frightening.
All right, so then after you've had the panic attack, like you said, you probably want to make sure you never have one again, and that's where the prevention comes in?
Right, and if you've had one, you can probably notice it in someone else. It's the wide, starry eyes, it's the breathing that is belabored. You want to escape from where you were before. They might start sweating, they might start pacing, might start looking at different places. Their heart's beating really, really fast. So no matter what, it's good to keep them calm, make them rest, get them distracted, and then, if you're not sure, yes, you're going to have to get medical help.
All right, so you've survived your first panic attack, or you've heard this show and decided that you want to be more resilient to panic attacks. What can you do?
Or, yes, exactly. If you suffer from them, you know someone that suffers from them. Let's go through the basics. The most important thing would be exercise. It's really interesting how exercise helps you. If you are and you can think about it again as a evolutionary factor. So if you are a couch potato and you have not done much exercise for a really long time, and a tiger comes up to you, your body will think, oh my Lord, he's been on the couch for like years, hasn't gone off this couch. I'm going to send as much adrenaline into his system as possible to increase his chances of survival. So it's like sending all the troops. Now, if you're really, really fit, let's say Superman fit, the body will say, you know what, he could probably break the tiger in half. I'll just send a little bit of adrenaline. So the panic attack would not either be as intense, would not be as all or nothing, and your body would wait a little bit longer before it sends in all the troops. So exercise works really well for a myriad of ways, but that's the first thing that you should add. It might be, unfortunately, something you're scared to do. If one of your first symptoms to panic attack is a rapid heartbeat, exercise itself could trigger it because you feel that rapid heartbeat and then you're worried that you might be having another panic attack. So you would want to then slowly increase your ability to exercise. If you've been avoiding exercising because you've had a panic attack, it probably means that that's one of your symptoms, one of your triggers, and you're going to want to slowly get yourself used to exercising again.
Now, when you say exercise, are you talking about cardiovascular? Are you talking about weightlifting? Are you talking about what specific kind of exercise is beneficial for this?
Cardio, cardio, cardio. That is what we want. Keep your body fit and think that you can run and escape if you need to.
All right, so you do your burpees for rounds or your jumping jacks for rounds, and we did, like Georgia said, we did a whole episode on that. The first or second or third episode, I think, was on exercise.
Right, but for the brain, for dealing with panic attacks, for dealing with just basic stress, you only need 15 minutes of cardio, and it doesn't have to be heavy, all-out cardio either. You could end up doing, 15 minutes, light to moderate. You want to feel your heart beating faster, and that would be perfect. You don't have to do an hour workout, and it's better to do it every day than it is to do, say, 3 hours on one day.
So a little bit of cardio every day.
Just a touch, yes.
All right, you also mentioned sleep before.
You also want to sleep, because why wouldn't we sleep? That means there's an impending doom or danger that's looming around the corner. And plus, when you're sleeping, your body is sorting through all of the different things that have happened, the laundry of the day, and putting them into the proper bins. So you want to get a good, relaxed night's rest so that your brain is calm. Plus, you want to make sure that you've spent enough time healing and repairing yourself during the night so you're ready for the next day.
But I have video games to play, Georgia.
That's fun, then sleep in.
All right, so again, we did a whole episode on sleep, so you can check into that. But is there a rule of thumb?
We did too.
We did too, that's right. Is there a rule of thumb? Do you want to make sure you sleep at the same hours? Do you want to make sure you get a certain amount of sleep?
You want to get as much sleep as you need. The average is 7.5. Some people need as much as 10, and some people need as little as 5. Though the people that need as little as 5 is exceptionally rare. How do you know that you're sleeping enough? Because you wake up, you feel rested, and happy and or at least rested. If you're dealing with a depression, you're probably not going to feel happy, and you could actually be sleeping too much. You want to monitor that as well. So you want to take a look at how do you feel when you wake up.
And then I'm guessing nutrition is the third leg of this triangle, your pyramid thing that's shaped like a triangle.
Pyramid colored thing, exactly. You do not want your body to think that you are starving. Starving is bad. It sets us off to be triggered for stress, because if we are not eating often during the day, our body thinks that there must be something that distresses us. It increases our level of feeling not at ease. So please eat. It's better to eat a jelly donut in the morning than to eat nothing. But if you could eat something that's healthy and gives you the nutrients that you need, even better.
Now, does the kind of food you eat matter? Like if you're eating lots of fruits and vegetables as opposed to gummy bears and licorice, does that change your survival odds at all?
Though the gummy bear diet may seem fabulous, you do want to eat a variety of foods. The better the variety, the more the variety, the better. And I thought that there was a great, Dr. Joe Schwartz here gave a great tip in just eating different colors of foods, because often the color of the food gives us an inclination to what the nutrients are. Plus, if you're craving something, you should probably eat it. Often we do not know that unconsciously our body is wanting something specific because we are missing something. Though, if you are craving a 6-scoop of chocolate ice cream, that might just be because you're feeling sad or miss someone.
All right, so we have the exercise, sleep, and nutrition. And I'm going to also guess, because I'm cheated and I watched the former shows, that breathing is the important thing.
Here we go. This is a great brain trick, and you can watch the episode on breathing, but this is a great brain trick. What you do is you do deep, soothing, relaxed breathing. This is amazing, and yes, Renee, I know you're waiting. I will show you guys how to do it.
Awesome.
So what you do is you breathe in through your nose, and you breathe in for about 3 seconds. So you go. You hold it. And then you relax and breathe out. And you continue to do that. About 6 to 10 times should be enough to help lower your anxiety. And it's actually a brain trick. It works by telling your brain that everything must be calm, cool, and collected, because when your brain's doing the scan of how is your body feeling, it says, you know what? If you're breathing so calmly and so relaxed, there mustn't be a tiger chasing us. So I guess everything's okay.
This is so Star Trek. I can just imagine Kirk telling Scotty to run a level 1 diagnostic and Scotty powering down the warp core so no one can detect them.
Right. It's nice. It keeps you calm, cool, and collected. It allows your body to soothe. And even if you're having a panic attack, though doing the deep breathing is really difficult during a panic attack, it will slow it down. Now, you don't want to just do this when you're having a panic attack. You actually want to build up a skill, because learning how to do the deep breathing to calm your system is a skill like learning Russian. You need to practice it. The better you practice it, the more effortlessly your body will be able to calm down. I can probably drop my blood pressure about 40 pretty easily in, I don't know, 3 or 4 breaths.
So when do you know that you can do stuff like this to help alleviate panic attacks, and when do you know where you have to actually go and get specific treatment for them or help with them?
Well, it's kind of like saying, how do you know when you can fix your car yourself, and when should you bring it to a mechanic?
I can never fix my car myself. I open that thing up, I can't even tell it's an engine anymore.
If you're suffering a lot, if it is, once a week or more.
If it's interfering with your quality of life?
You should probably go see a specialist in order to have it dealt with. It's faster and more efficient. It is more costly, so if budget is a huge deal, you can try to do it yourself. But unfortunately, it can be difficult to figure out what are the best triggers, what are your triggers, what work with you, what doesn't. And just to have someone else there that you can talk to is really beneficial. But if you're really good and skilled with this, very honest with yourself, if you're diligent about keeping up with your homework, if you can follow all of the different suggestions, but don't overdo it, then you can try to do it yourself as well. Doesn't work? Go see someone that can help you out with it.
if you have, I know you mentioned earlier that if you have a friend or someone in the family with a panic attack, you can help talk them through it, but is there a way for you to help them in between panic attacks or just to help them in general?
Unfortunately, I think that most people should be able to help themselves. You cannot make someone do the right things if they're not exercising, if they're not sleeping enough. You can suggest, you can lead them to water, but you can't make them drink. I believe that everyone should be responsible for themselves. Now, if you have a child, that's a different story. So you can have them do their breathing techniques before they do homework. You can make them do some sit-ups or push-ups if you can see that they're getting overly upset or exceptionally excited or maybe even aggressive, to help burn that off. And you can teach them the right proper tools so that they end up learning these before it ever gets to the point where it would become damaging to the system.
All right, so just dispelling some final myths, is there one underlying cause that triggers this, like in movies, like because you're missing your sleigh rosebud, or someone took your mommy, or you're running a vast New Jersey mob empire? Is there something that once you find that out, you go, aha, it's that, and it just magically disappears?
Sometimes if you really know what your trigger is and why it is there, it really helps in determining how to get rid of your panic attacks. But that can be difficult. I often have people journal, and we go through the detective work together of finding out what are our wounds, what are our blocks, what are the things that really, really hurt us. So if you can figure out what your triggers are, it does help. And usually it is journaling. I know that lots of people hate journaling, but it works much better than thinking it through in our own head. And I do this for a living, and journaling is better for me. And I should know all of this by now, but it works better when I write it out on paper. So that's what I do to figure out what was really happening. And then usually I have people bring in a little bit of data, and then we do the detective work together on figuring out what were the type of things that trigger me strongly, lightly, and every once in a while. And then sometimes you just know that, I have a fear of heights. It doesn't make the fear of heights go away, but it lets you pinpoint why you're feeling this way, and then you know how to deal with it.
Is there a difference about whether you're having panic attacks and you don't know the reason, or whether you're having panic attacks and, for example, it is post-traumatic stress for an event that you absolutely already do know?
It's so much more frightening when you don't know why, and that's why it becomes a panic attack. If you're on the top of a building and you know you have a fear of heights, which I do, it's so much easier because you can
go down.
You can, yes, you know how to deal with it. You can let other people know. If you're not sure and you had a panic attack, that's really scary.
Yeah, because you don't know to go down.
You don't know why it's happening. And sometimes it's the fear of the symptomology that you're feeling in your body. So it might be just a warm room because when you had a panic attack, it was really hot out, or it could be your heart racing, or the difficulty breathing, or it could be getting sweaty, causes a panic attack itself. So then we end up doing something called interoceptive exposure. When we get you used to the symptoms of the panic attack, the heart racing, we might do exercise. If it is a very thick, smoky room, it might be going into a sauna. If it is difficulty breathing, it might be sticking a whole bunch of books on your chest so that you feel a little bit more comfortable. And it's done really slowly. That type of thing you want to do with a professional, because if it is done the wrong way, and most people that end up with panic attacks are overachievers and will overdo things because they want it done yesterday, and if you do it the wrong way, you can cause more panic than lessen it.
And if you're Josh and it's Yo-Yo Ma's cello reminding you of police sirens, then you get desensitized to police sirens.
That is exactly it. You need to go towards the fear, whatever it might be. And it's also really important to know that it's not bad for you. You're not doing, a lot of people are scared of having a panic attack because they think that they're damaging their system by feeling that. You're not. It's like giving your body a really intense workout. You're running like a race car and being able to stay in place. So do not worry in that case. It's exceptionally rare also to faint. Almost never happens because during a panic attack your blood pressure rises. So you're going to be highly alert but just not feeling very good at the same time.
I think sometimes, rightly or wrongly, we become embarrassed because we don't want people to see us like that, or to think that, or like, oh, I'm so embarrassed, I thought I was having a heart attack, I didn't mean to waste your time.
A lot of people feel embarrassed because they think that it's a sign of weakness, which is really interesting because if you didn't have that, it was a sign of weakness. But in our society now, showing fear is something that is looked at as bad still, unfortunately, though it has nothing to do really with the quintessential fear. It's a little bit different than that.
All right. So any homework, Georgia? Is it the journaling? Is it the breathing? Should they review those episodes? What's the best thing you can recommend?
So if you suffer from panic attacks, you should do all of those episodes. Definitely you need to exercise 15 minutes every day. You should also journal anytime you have an anxiety attack or a panic attack. And then try to say to yourself, why am I having it? There's a lot of other things that also go into play with a panic attack and how to deal with it. If you're a very negative person or very cruel to yourself in the way that you speak or see yourself, it's going to be very hard to get rid of a panic attack, but we'll have to look at the episode on positivity for that because it's an episode in and of itself.
Now, is there anything you can do? I mean, we have these wonderful phones and tablets, and is there any part of the tech in the Zen and Tech that can help you, like listening to music or distracting yourself?
You can very much so. Often I'll tell my people that have maybe get panic attacks when they're driving to talk to someone that is calm and soothing on their phone. So just put on the speakerphone and speak to someone that is a positive, supportive, loving person. If it's the person that caused the panic attack in the first place, please do not talk to them on the phone.
Yeah, don't argue or yell on the phone. Call someone who'll make you happy.
No, music is a wonderful tool. Again, maybe not heavy metal unless anger helps you deal with your panic attacks, but find some really great tunes that soothe you, and you can do that at the same time whenever you might be.
And I know you said
journal. Listen to audiobooks. Audiobooks are great.
I know you dislike digital journaling because you think it doesn't provide the same results as manual journaling, but is there any benefit to maybe voice recording what you're thinking about in a situation when it starts to happen, just so you don't forget or anything like that?
I thought it was great. Someone taped themselves while they were in a lot of distress so that they can go back and check out what was happening and look at it, and it didn't feel as scary for them. So you can even video journal yourself as you go through it. Renee, what are the best journaling apps that are out right now? Because though I would rather you pen and paper write, it's better to write down something than to write nothing at all.
Well, again, like I just don't know if you're. I think voice recording sounds like I don't know if I would actually journal something in the middle of being that stressed. So voice recording sounds super easy to me.
Okay, so either way, and when you're doing your journaling, you want to do it even if you're not having a panic attack, but maybe it's a mild trigger instead of a very, very strong trigger. So you just had an anxiety attack, and it might even be mild. And every night you should write it down, and so that you can figure out and do all of your own detective work. The more that you understand yourself, as with any game, the more that you know it, the better you can win.
Awesome. And if people would like to find you, Georgia, if they want to give you comments on the episode or share an experience or something, where can they go?
You can find me on Twitter at Georgia_Dow.
And you can find me at Renee Ritchie on all the social things. Georgia, thank you so much. I think this is something that really affects a lot of people's lives and is absolutely worth the time and attention that it's being given.
Good, and good luck with everyone, and please do share your thoughts and considerations for everything. We do appreciate.